Welcome to The Decision Makers. I'm your host, Kim Kotis, and I'm here today joined by the distinguished and honorable GeoffHansen, who's the state senator from the 34th District here in Western Michigan. Jeff, pleasure to have you involved.
Thanks, Kim. I appreciate it.
And the point of this program is to let you know who your elected representatives are, get to understand them on a personal level, and understand why they're serving your community. So, Jeff, tell me a little bit about your background. I understand you're from the Oceana County area, and give the public a little bit of where you came from before you became elected.
Well, I started really far north because I was actually born in the Sioux Ste. Marie, okay. And my dad used to work for A&P, so he's been in the grocery business a long time. We moved from there to Petoskey to Gaylord, and when I was 6, we moved to Hart. Okay. And that's where we bought the grocery store. My father bought a small grocery store. We've expanded. We're on our third store in Hart, gone from 2,500 square feet to 25,000 square feet over the years, and it's been it was a challenging thing as we went through. I was in the grocery business. I started, well, pretty early. Let's put it that way. But I had about 30 years in the business. Either in the family business or my wife and I owned a store up in Bear Lake also for about 8 years that we'd bought in. I think it was 88. Okay. The political part of it started probably, I guess it did start in Bear Lake because some guys on the city council came to talk to me about being on the village council because someone had either moved away or died, and I don't remember which way it was. But so being the new guy, they put me on and asked me to do. Had to get a boat launch ramp rebuilt that the village had, and so I went through and I got the DNR permits. We had the money and got that all done, and it kind of piqued my interest. And you find out what you really can get done. So we sold the store there, moved back to Hart, where I coached football and basketball in the school in Hart. Then I also became township supervisor in 2000 in Hart Township. And again, it just shows you the things that you can do when you get involved. Because I'm a big believer that the world is run by those who show up. So the people that want to actually have something to say about it, they have to come in and we need to talk about it and be part of the solution, not just come in and say all the things that are wrong. Let's have a solution to some of these things. And I like to look at the end of the day, actually getting something done as a solution. But
that's important. And so when you served as the Hart Township official, how did that lead to your eventually becoming state representative?
I helped Dave Mead was running for state representative at that time, and we were in the 100th district at that point. And so I worked with him, and as I saw that, I felt I could, it's one of those things that, well, I can do that. And because of going through and getting things done and finding out how you can get things done, if you just put the effort into it and try and move things forward, it makes a huge difference. So I told my wife, I said, I think I want to run for that. And I mean, it wasn't my lifetime goal was to run for state office. It was something that it came to me that it was, it's a way to give back. And that's really important. If with our family, like my dad was on the fire department, my father-in-law was on the fire department, my grandfather was a fire chief in Crystal Valley in Oceana Township. So, I went on to the fire department in Hart. Between there and Bear Lake, where I was assistant chief, I had about 20 years almost on the volunteer fire department, and I also got my EMT license when I was up in Bear Lake because we didn't have enough people to go on the first responder. So I took the training so I felt really helpless when I'd go to the first responder calls and didn't know what to do. And so I said, that's not happening. So I went and got the training so I could get my EMT license, and I think it was a good move.
Well, tell the audience a little bit about the district itself. First, the 100th district, which you used to represent, and what areas that includes, and also your 34th state senate district.
Well, the 100th district is Lake, Newaygo, and Oceana County, and so you've got 3 distinct different counties pretty much, because Lake County, they all have tourism, Lake County is pretty much all tourism, and then at that time there was a prison that was open there, so had a lot of people working there. Nuevo County has a lot of tourism, but has a lot of farming. But it's in the food and fiber, the corn and soybeans and things like that. Where Oceana County is tourism, of course, but it also has, people probably don't realize, it's the #1 producer of sour cherries in the world.
Okay.
And #2 in asparagus. You know, they're #1 producer of peaches in the state. #1 in pickles, I think, I don't know if it's in the whole country. It's really close, but a lot of specialty things.
Well, and Michigan is quite abundant in terms of our agricultural production and our investment by our farmers and the families that came before them. And among other things, we have Gerber in your district. We have Peterson Farms, probably two of the most known of the large producers. But your predecessor, Jerry Van Workum, also was the head of the Senate Ag Committee, and that was very crucial. And at least at the last statistics that I remember, agriculture was a $71 billion economic gain for the state.
It's the latest one was way above that. I think it's up near 90 billion a year, and it's just it's growing because we're finding new things. If you look at like our wine industry is just beginning. Agriculture is a big part for Michigan. It's kind of what got us through the decade, kind of the lost decade there in 2000 area, and we had some real problems, but what happened was agriculture just kept going and kept going, and it's not a look at me type industry. It's a put your head down and work, and we'll make it work. And if I'm not making money, I will work harder. And so, you know, we're blessed with a lot of hard workers in this area.
Well, and I think that's part of our future too, and we need to give that real consideration in terms of what are some of the opportunities that are ahead of us for not just the district, but for Michigan growers and suppliers.
Well, I have been going around to the schools in the district on what we call a tech tour because I want to see what they're doing, what they're working on in that. And one of the things that surprised me is kind of how far along they are, how advanced our schools are in working in technology. And talking about agriculture, everything in agriculture now is based off computers, whether it's planting, whether it's spraying, whether it's harvesting. Everything is more based off computers now. And so it kind of fits right in to the students that are looking at going into agriculture. It's wide open for these young folks.
Well, it's also something that of a generational change. I think it's really important that we prepare the community that there's opportunities in agriculture, whereas, you know, decades before and for the past number of decades, we've seen a shift from people moving from the country into the cities. And now people are starting to realize that, hey, there's an opportunity for us to make a living growing food.
Yeah, and it's getting stronger. You know, the thing is they're trying to find ways that with the smaller plots of land they can make a living, because right now you almost have to be a large farmer or not be in it. But we've had some experimental things that went on. We had a gentleman that tried water buffalo. I don't know if you'd seen that over in the Fremont area, and he milked them. And they made buffalo mozzarella. And it was going along pretty well, and they had a show barn and everything, kind of like country dairy.
Right.
And it was going along pretty well, but then family issues popped up, and he ended up losing it because of they had a divorce, and there was a lot of things that happened, and it's unfortunate because it was a really interesting thing for the area.
Well, could you tell us a little bit about some of the legislation that you've been involved with in terms of agriculture here in the district?
Well, I guess one of the premier legislations I'd like to talk about is one that for farmers markets, I had this idea about part of agriculture is, I talked about grapes earlier and the wineries that we have now, but what we've done is we've done a bill that would allow our wineries to go to farmers markets, the small wineries, and have tastings and sell their product at it, because you have to get to a certain level before you can go through the three-tier system that we have in the state of Michigan to go through a distributor. And so, I mean, otherwise it doesn't work for the distributor because there's not enough to sell. This gives you an opportunity to take your product to one or several farm markets and be able to to sell it and have tastings if it's okay with it, if they okay it through the farmer's market. And we just got it past the end of last year. I think this year is going to be the first time that we actually be able to get the license out there, and I hope it does well for our local wineries, because I look at it as agriculture, because they're normally growing the crop, processing it, making it into the wine. So it's just furthering it along there. So it's a thing. We did have last year. We had a disaster in the apples and the cherries, and as the bill came in from the House, they had not put they weren't sure about the money, so I was able to put a $15 million budget in that, so that they could so they could have some low budget loans to get through the year, to get into this year. Because last year, I think they had about 10% of a crop, and it was just terrible all the way through. It was devastated, unbelievable.
Okay, well, stay with us. We want you to hear more from Senator Hansen and learn more about his role helping to serve the community. So we'll be right back.
Why Not Embroidery, located at 200 Holton Road in North Muskegon, specializing in custom embroidery and screen printing for schools, churches, corporate and fundraising events, family reunions, whatever the need or occasion. Featuring Lake Michigan unsalted apparel, Why Not offers sweatshirts, t-shirts, athletic and corporate wear, towels, backpacks, baby items, and graduation gifts. They also do window decals and signed vinyl. Why Not Embroidery, 231-744-8849.
Life Circles, to provide comprehensive, compassionate, and team-based care to the frail elderly in partnership with their families and caregivers in order to maximize independence and their quality of life. Life Circles provides an alternative to traditional senior care service. Life Circle allows an individual in need of skilled nursing care to remain in their home or community setting and receive quality care from the program. Who is eligible? 55 years of age and older, certified by the state to require nursing home care, ability to live safely in the community, and reside in the service area of Life Circles. Area code 231-733-8686 for further information about Life Circles.
My name is Bruce Langlois. I'm a veterinarian, and this is my dog Pace. With the troubled economy, it can be difficult to afford veterinary services. That's why we have a mobile veterinary clinic called the Spay Neuter Express. We offer low-cost spays and neuters for dogs and cats, and we also offer vaccinations, routine testing, and parasite control. You can find us online at www.spayneuterexpress.com.
Welcome back to The Decision Makers. I'm your host, Kim Kotis, and I'm joined by Senator GeoffHansen. And we're talking about Jeff's role in serving the community here in the 34th State Senate District, as well as your role previously as a state representative. And tell us a little bit more about your committee assignments and some of the legislation you've been involved with. For example, we've had budget surplus here in the state of Michigan, which is a real breakthrough from past years. And tell me your role in seeing the impact of that.
Well, first off, the committees that I'm on are I'm chair of Outdoor Recreation and Tourism. I'm also on Agriculture, Transportation, Economic Development, and Insurance. I have to count them off on my hands because there's 5 of them.
That's quite a lot.
And plus, I also was elected the Assistant President Pro Tem of the Senate. So I have these different jobs that I have to do. And let's go into the budget a little bit, because I think that's so important. That over the past 3 years, we have changed the way that we do the budgeting. We're looking at the budget in 2-year increments instead of just 1 year and struggle the next year because we didn't look forward. Everything that we do now, we look and see what it means the next year, so we make sure that we're not harming the next year by doing something this year. When I first came into the Senate, we had a $1.8 billion deficit. I mean, we technically had a balanced budget, but we were in deficit of $1.8 billion. And so we had to go through and change the budget, change the way we do it. and look at reality, and the dollars come in are the only dollars that we could spend. We couldn't steal it from here and there like we were doing. Because I went through from 2005 to 2010 in the State House when the budgets didn't always go so well. I mean, we had the one year, I think 2007, when we actually shut down state government. And that was a failure. I believe that we cannot be doing that. We need to be responsible in getting to the answers rather than just, I just think it was a failure for the state.
Well, and there's so many different departments that depend on having a reliable budget that they can count on and make their decisions and planning for.
Absolutely. And a lot of it was not even the departments, it's the schools, because they have to have their budget done July 1st. And here we are, waiting until last minute till September, when the budget starts October 1st, and we put the budget in place in September. One year we did it in November. And they have to go by what they hear, what they think they're going to get. And then when we actually get to the budget, it's 5 months later, 4 months later, and the problem being is if they don't get as much as what they're thinking, they've already spent a lot of it, because all of your contract items come up in the beginning. You everything is front loaded, and so they're spending more in the first than they are in the last. And if there's less than what they think, it really creates a problem there. So by us going and saying we're going to have our budgets done the first part of June, I think we've hit June 1st 2 out of the 3 years. I think this year was like the third. It gives an opportunity for everybody to see what it is. And as we go along between June and October, if we have to make some tweaks, we still can. But this is what the budget is, and we're going to move forward. By frugal budgeting this year, we actually, for the year that just passed, that just finished September 30th, we ended up with about $300 million left over that wasn't spent. So, that's a big number. The year that we're in, they're having the budget revenue estimating conference Friday, what's the 10th? I shouldn't.
That's all right. It doesn't matter.
But it's and what they're looking at is for the budget that we're in is possibly a $400 million budget surplus, more than what we planned on. And then since they do it a 2-year, they're looking at next year and possibly another $300 million. So it's just over $1 billion. And one of the big questions is going to be, what do you do with that?
Sure.
You can't just go out and just spend it, because we're hoping that it's going to continue, because Michigan is a comeback state. We have really come back, and we're hoping that this is long term.
Well, let's talk about how the governor tries to set priorities as well in terms of having a balanced budget and being able to allow these various organizations and groups and just the function of government to have a basis to build on. One of the things that is really important to Michigan is transportation. Can you talk about some of the work you've been able to do in terms of not only working with your other local legislators, but the things you've been able to help bring back to help the district?
Well, first of all, this year we put $350 million, the budget that we're in, from general fund into our roads. First time we've ever used general fund dollars to fund our roads. We used, I think it was about $120 million. I'd have to do my math here real quick, but $120 million was used to make sure that we got the federal match that was coming to us. So that was put in. And $115 million was going to be for project specific. It wasn't going to go through the fund.
Okay.
It was going to project specific. And here in Muskegon County, we got 2 of the projects. And so it was about $2.5 million that we were able to get to this spring start 2 roads. I think one of them Sternberg right out here.
Right.
And
Holton Road.
And Holton Road. So it's 2 that I worked with the local road commission and talked to Ken Holka about. Tell me, what do you have ready to go? Tell me what some primary roads are that you really need to get done, and we'll see what we can do.
Well, Holton Road is a great access road. I mean, your district includes Muskegon, Oceana, Newaygo, and Mason County. And it's a major link to Fremont and Hesperia and broader area. So let's talk about how the decision to which roads get attention, and are the state roads more of a priority as opposed to the 96 or the interstates?
It depends on who you're talking to.
Okay.
It's actually one of the challenges that I have is to talking to MDOT. Thinks, of course, their roads are the most important. They want to get all the money into our state roads.
Okay.
Well, I have a problem with that because our local roads are just turning into gravel, and we've got road commissions that are on kind of life support on some of these, trying to get some of their roads done and the maintenance and all of that. I think we need to look closer at our local roads more so, because replacing one of the state roads just because it's time over replacing one of our local roads because it is bad is that doesn't fly well with me. I really, in fact, I've had a discussion with the governor about, we've got a unique thing here in our area. We have a lot of second homes in all my district.
Right.
And so the people that have our second homes, when they go and register their car, their registration dollars go to where they live, their first home. They don't go to us. I take Oceana County, they have 26,000 people in the winter. In the summer, it's probably 50,000.
That's an impact.
And so our roads are getting used like there's 50,000 people, but we're getting paid like we have 26,000 people to keep our roads up. So it's been a challenge trying to find a way to make the second road or the second homes have some kind of an impact to the local road commissions, and we have not come up with the answer yet, but we're working on it.
Now, having served this area for more than 12 years, at least in state government, you must have traveled just about everywhere in the district.
I don't think I've missed many roads. I do travel about just over 50,000 miles a year.
That's quite significant.
And so I do spend a lot of time on the road, and so I see what I'm talking about now is the difference between the locals and the state-controlled roads. And we need to get the money down to our cities and villages need some help because the cost of the road material is up so much. And revenue sharing is up a little bit, but trying to keep up has just been really, really difficult.
Okay, well, please stay with us. We'll be right back talking with State Senator GeoffHansen, and we'll be back with you on the Decision Makers right after this.
The Trophy House and Jones Sports have been servicing the area for almost 50 years. We handle all team sports, uniforms, and equipment and have a full custom design service for your athletic and corporate logos. We have trophies, plaques, and awards for all occasions. We engrave, embroider, and do silk screening. We have stock t-shirts, sweatshirts, both hoodies and crews, sports shirts, jackets, and specialize in corporate promotional products. The Trophy House and Jones Sports, helping you promote you.
Sprague's Auto Parts offers used parts at big savings. Engines, transmissions, radiators, starters, windows, doors, fenders, taillights, seats, and more. You pull it. For more information, you can call us at 231-726-2988. Sprague's Auto Parts, 81 South Getty Street in Muskegon.
Seaway Appliance is an established name in the community because we offer what the other guys don't.
We have a great selection of appliances and high-definition televisions, and we also offer professional delivery and installation.
And at Seaway Appliance, we have our own service departments.
Seaway Appliance, your hometown brand source store. It's competitive low prices and amazing deals.
And thank you for the business.
Seaway Appliance on Henry Street in Muskegon.
Hello, my name is Jim McLean and I'm a realtor. A recent survey indicated what people want most in their realtor includes understands needs, inspires trust, manages detail, has great connections in the community, and is experienced in negotiations. I developed and used these very same skills during my 30-year career as a teacher and principal in Muskegon.
Welcome back to The Decision Makers. I'm your host, Kim Kotis, and I'm here with State Senator GeoffHansen of the 34th State Senate District. And Jeff, we were talking about legislation related to roads and transportation. Let's talk about some of the things that have been recently enacted, things that you've worked for, like the pharmacy bill.
Well, the pharmacy bill was one that one of our local pharmacies talked to me about. Is they would like to try something new, but state law doesn't allow them to try anything new because the rules are set. And so I worked with the LARA, the Licensing and Regulatory Affairs or agents, and we talked about how can we make it work so that there can be a period of time that they can try something new. First, they have to, of course, they have to put in for to tell them what they want to do. So they don't want to do something that's not legal, not safe. We want to make sure that we have our physicians are the ones prescribing, and that making sure that there are pharmacists that are in charge of this. It's not just a free-for-all type thing. There's probably, with the way technology is now, there's probably new ways or new things that they can do. And one of our local pharmacy groups came and talked to me about that, and it kind of intrigued me because we really need to be trying some new things. We're losing our small town pharmacies, left and right. We have people who have to go so far to get pharmacy products that it's getting to be a hardship on them. And so what we tried to do is find a way that they could try something new to maybe help keep some of those smaller ones open. And we were able to get through, I think it's Senate Bill 312. The governor signed it last month, and it gives them 18-month period to try a pilot project of something that they think is good. Has to be okayed though through the pharmacy commission first, right. And then they have 18 months, and in that 18 months they find out if it's going to work. If it's going to work, they have another 18 months that the rules be promulgated. So we don't have, they go 18 months and then stop until the rules are promulgated and then start up again, because if it's working, you don't want to stop it.
Right. So it's an integration process.
Yeah. And so then it'd be a 3-year thing. But if it isn't working within 18 months, it's just stopped and done.
Well, I know in California, we worked on Public Safety Commission that I was on. We worked based with local pharmacists on helping to do more electronic prescriptions, which was in the late 90s was kind of a new thing. But a lot of times people can't read prescriptions, and doctors may sign them differently. So people want to make sure they get accurate prescriptions,
right.
And also for tracking purposes as well. So I think these are important innovations that we need to do in a responsible way.
And that's the key word, is the responsible way, because as it went through, there was some concerns raised from some of the pharmacists about them, cutting them out. This has nothing to do with cutting them out. They are, they're there not just to fill prescriptions. They're there to counsel the people too, because you want to make sure that you're not getting prescriptions that don't work together.
Absolutely.
And so it has to be safe, and we have to make sure that we're still working it and making sure that people are able to get the medications that they need.
Let's move on to something else in the health field. You've been involved with some dental issues that have been important for our children here in the community.
We're able to get, there's a couple of things I talked to the governor about. Was number one was talk to him about Healthy Kids Dental and how important that could be to our area. Because in the counties that I represent, Muskegon had about 8 dentists that would take Medicaid patients. Newaygo had 0. Other than the federally qualified health clinics. Oceana County had, I think, like 4, and Mason County might have had 5 or 6. Now, if you look at the Healthy Kids Dental, which goes through Delta Dental Insurance, Muskegon has 4 pages of providers that they can go to.
Okay.
They have 2 or 3 pages in Newaygo County, and Oceana County's got a couple pages, and also Mason. So it opened it up, because we need more providers so that our children can get the proper care, because that's the first step. I mean, that's a huge part of health is your oral health.
Well, that's definitely true. I can attest to that. And along, besides just children, some of the issues that you worked with helping veterans, I think that's also very crucial as well.
We've had some great things. We helped with the Veterans Fair here in Muskegon for the last couple of years. We've just passed some legislation that veterans are going to be able to use their military experience to go towards licensing in the state of Michigan. Because they might have been already doing it for 4, 6, 8 years in the military, but it's always been that they come out and they have to go through all the training. If they're a truck driver in the military, I'm pretty sure that will, kind of be okay out in the non-military world because
absolutely.
They're trained for that. Heavy equipment, they're trained. It's just been. We're getting further in because Michigan has been really poor about taking care of our veterans, and we need to make sure that they've given so much to us that we need to make sure that we are helping take care of them as they come back because there's some, they need jobs, and this gives them a better opportunity.
Yeah, it's not just a welcome home. It's like let's start anew. We value what you can bring to the community. Yeah. I was going to say that oftentimes Dave Ealing from our veterans group has talked about the fact that we are not getting the share that we should for the veterans population that we have in the country relative to that. So I think the more that we show how we can make a difference with our veterans, we'll start to get on the map to maybe get a better resources because that money flows back into the state. I mean, just like even with the dental thing, it helps support our local economy.
Right, and one of the other things with the veterans is we just passed for 100% disabled veterans that have really given their all for us are going to be able to get their home taxes, their property taxes on their home pretty much wiped out. So if they're 100% disabled, that will be something that they'll be able to use because it used to be that they had to have a home that was retrofitted for whatever their issue might be, their needs. But we have veterans that are 100% disabled that have to, they can't work.
Right.
And if they're 100% disabled, we need to do a little more for them, and I think this is a good step.
Well, that's good. I appreciate that. And one of the things that we really haven't talked much about is that during Governor Snyder's role here in the state and as a leader, there have been a number of things that have been enacted for reducing taxes and personal income tax and some of these other things. Could you talk about how some of that tax relief has come about during this administration? Well,
we had the Michigan business tax, which was not a good tax, and it's been it was a challenge all the way through. It was supposed to be easy, transparent, and anybody could do it when it was passed. Well, by the time one of the departments got done with their interpretation, it was a book about this thick, and it took a long time for anybody else to understand it. It came out late, and it was just a mess. It put us in a very bad position for our business taxes. The corporate income tax that we put in place is simple. It's so much easier. It's one sheet of paper. You take what your taxes are, or what your profit is on your federal income tax. Mm-hmm. You put it on this line. If you're a C corporation, you times it by 6%. If you're a sole proprietor, partnership, S corporation, you times it by 4.25%. And then you put in the amount, you're done. So it's much simpler, taking out all the different, everybody's treated the same. They don't get any special exemptions. It's all the way across. And I think it's working very well. And we've actually had, this year we've had as much, because we still have some people coming off Michigan business tax, that's where some of our surplus is coming from. Well, and as I've learned attending and filming some of our programs with the Institute for Public Policy and Social Research with Michigan State and Lansing, the role of commerce of Michigan in terms of international commerce, especially with our neighbor in Canada, has grown quite significant. And I think more than people understand Michigan's role in terms of commerce, not only for transportation, but for so many goods, even to the point that we're looking at Muskegon as a port
of having and playing an even more major role. Could you talk a little bit about how commerce has really grown?
Well, yeah, Michigan really has changed. People don't realize that Detroit is the #1
port of entry.
Or it's the busiest, border crossing in the nation, and so that's one of the things that we have to talk about. Detroit is having its own issues. I think that it won't be long. I think we're going to have some good things come out of there. With their bankruptcy, that's tough. It really is. Detroit has had, but they were in pretty dire condition, and they needed to get some help, get some work done, and I think it's going to be a lot better. But talking about the ports, we've just gone through this year where we had lowest water level in 40 years. Actually, I think we hit the lowest, but we had to really quickly do some emergency dredging last spring, because if we would not have got that done, we would have had a lot of problems with our recreational harbors. Right here in Muskegon, we would have had problems, because I got a call just after the list came out, and Muskegon had an issue that there seems to be a ferry, Cross Lake Ferry, that comes in.
Absolutely.
And if we didn't get some dredging done there for them by May 1st, they weren't being able to open the season. They couldn't get it in and out. So we were able to get them added to the list of projects that we had on there, and we got it done on time, and they got going. That was a challenge, but we've had challenges all the way through. The good news is this year it looks like the water's going to be up some. I've heard as much as a foot. With the cold weather that we've had, part of Lake Michigan is froze over, so we're not getting the evaporation. We've had a lot more snowfall, so we've had a lot better rain. So things are coming back there, but we cannot slow down, because we picked up, actually it's the federal government's job to take care of our ports like that, and they weren't going to get it done. So we had to take money that was promised for 2013 for getting projects done that were through the Michigan Waterways Fund, and the department heads called all the groups that were getting the money and said, we need to have you guys wait 1 year to have your projects done, because we need to take the money, we need to get the dredging done.
Right.
And I think it was the right thing to do, because it's great to have new bathrooms or have everything painted and everything really nice, but if you can't get to the docks, it doesn't do any good at all. So we had to make sure we got the emergency done.
Well, that's great. Well, please stay with us on The Decision Makers, and we'll be back in a moment.
813, please to 15, and we're clear.
01 Armitage at the gas station. Stand by a second. Alright, 10-4.
Fair representation at a reasonable price. Sean P. Davis, PLC, 1065 Peck Street, Muskegon, Michigan. www.seanpdavisplc.com.
24 hours, 7 days a week, it's Ramos to the rescue. For accidents, lockouts, jump starts, tire changes, or gas delivery, the experienced drivers at Ramos Towing will be at your side within a matter of minutes. Whether it's a motorcycle, medium duty, or a flatbed, whatever you need, just remember, it's Ramos to the rescue.
Barnes Hardware, family-owned and operated business located at 7170 East Apple Avenue in Muskegon. Featuring a wide variety of hunting and fishing gear with a full-service archery repair shop, plumbing and electrical supplies. From chainsaw repair to pet food, Barnes Hardware is your one-stop shop.
Buckwheat Schultz & Associates Incorporated. Investment products and services. For more information, call 799-9889 or 866-799-9889.
I've had dozens of people tell me, just cremate me when I die and then throw a big party. I'm sure you've heard someone say that too. I completely get it. Well, I want to help you throw that party. I've got tables and chairs and easels and boards. I've got sound systems and music. I've got caterers and food. And I've got all the people to set it up and break it down when it's all over. So why don't you let us here at Clocks help you with that party so you can focus on what's important. sharing the stories.
Welcome back to The Decision Makers. I'm your host, Kim Kotis, and joining me is State Senator GeoffHansen of the 34th State Senate District. Now, Jeff, you wouldn't be able to do this all on your own, and even though your collaboration with your other legislators and the governor are very important, let's talk a little bit about the role that your staff plays in constituent service, keeping you on time and abreast of what's going on, and let's give some acknowledgement to people to help you be effective.
Well, I'm really blessed because I feel I have the best staff in the legislature. My chief of staff, Peter Wills, has been with me from my first day when I started just over 9 years ago. He was my first hire. He does a great job, very meticulous, and if we need it, it's there. We have everything. Everything is in place, and he does. I got to tell you a little story because just to give you the efficiency is when I was in my my House office, he had his cubicle, which was just outside of my office, and I'd always leave the door open when I was talking to somebody, which my table was right by the door because I wanted him to know what was going on also. And so I'd be sitting there and somebody would say something to me, I got something on that just about 2 weeks ago, and I've turned to call Pete and say, Pete, can you look that up for me? And he's standing there handing it to me.
That's good.
And so it's, that type of a thing. And the rest of my staff, Anna's not state rep, it's Mooney now. She just got married last Christmas time. But she's been with me for about 6 years. She was with me in the House. She's my assistant chief of staff. She just does a great job. And I'm so lucky. We talked about the pharmacy bill. Mm-hmm. She was a huge part of that.
Well, we have Maria.
And I also have Katie, who was my legislative assistant. Okay. That she gets to do my schedule. And you talk about keeping me on time. It's anything that has to go through her. Even my wife, if she needs time, she has to call. Because I promised her I wouldn't schedule, and then because if we both schedule, she has to make the call to somebody. It's not fair to her. And then Chris Nofsky, he's a new guy that we hired. He was an intern. He's been with me, it's been a couple of years now, but he interned with us for 2 years. And then we had an opening come, and he answers the phone. They're so conscientious, and they understand how important it is for me. Because coming from the grocery business, customer service is one thing that I stress.
Yeah, absolutely.
People get back, I want them to get back to people as quickly as they possibly can. And then Maria Gonzalez is my district rep here normally in Muskegon area. So I'm blessed. It's a crew that just works very hard. And I sat down with a couple of the staff. It was Anna and Katie before the summer. I said, I really think you guys, take a week off during the summer. I want to keep you guys fresh. And they looked at me and said, don't make us do that. I go, what? No, don't make us take, we'll take a few days off, but don't make us take a week off because we get so far behind that, it's too hard to catch up. So we'll take a little time here. But I just, want to acknowledge the hard work and the calls that come in and the constituent service. And there's just so much that people don't see behind the scenes with that. And they're second to none. They work harder. They come in before 8:30. Sometimes they're there at 6 o'clock, and it's amazing.
Well, people don't realize, that on the state rep side, you have very few staff members.
Yeah.
And even on the state senate side, compared to some other states, you're still a relatively minimal amount of people to deal with, not only the people from business and the people from the community, but also your other legislative partners and the committee assignments and things that you have to manage. And so staff plays a really important role because they say, you're only in Lansing Tuesday through Thursday, but you're working 7 days a week, let's face it.
Yeah, and you're always on. No matter where you go, you can go into a restaurant. And I spoke at a veterans thing here a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And when people ask questions, I'd give them my card, and then I would call my office, and I'd leave a message for them to say, these people are going to call for these reasons, so have it ready when they call.
Good.
And so that makes it really, really great when they can get it done for people.
Well, another important part of your life, as besides your legislative role, is your family.
It is.
Now, for those who may not know you or know your family, give us a little bit of background on your family and how really important that is to your life.
Well, family is the most important thing in my life, I have to say, because we've had some challenges, but we've been able to get through it. My wife Tammy has been just a rock for me. Sorry.
No, I appreciate that.
It's
people don't understand that, when you're on the go and in demand a lot, how do you relax? How do you take time to appreciate that you're still here, that you're able to get through each day?
Well, it's when I can spend time with my family, and I do work around the house. I like to do building work. I remodel or I paint or I do things like that. But it's been just to get in the car and go somewhere with my wife. Let's go out to dinner. Let's go walk around a store or something. And she's been just a trooper. It's hard on her, because not everybody is always nice, and it's harder on her than it is on me because my skin has become very thick. And then my youngest son is Blake, and he works for Frito-Lay and has his family. Doesn't live far away. He's got 3 kids, and it's great. I've got and my daughter-in-law Courtney lives here in Muskegon with my grandson Cole. She was my late son's wife, and that's been great. I've got a wonderful, supportive family. My wife will go. Her thing is, if you need me to go with you, I will go with you. But it's your thing.
It's an essential part of making who you are.
I don't know how I could have done it when my kids were smaller.
Okay.
Because you're gone so much. The 60 hours is kind of a short week a lot of times. And, it's just that you have evenings. You're gone 2 to 3 nights a week, and it really gets hard.
Well, I think that people need to understand that their public servants are people that have to stay in touch. They have to be on the go, and it's not just the title and showing up to vote. There's a lot of behind the scenes, and that helps you get good information. So when you make decisions, you're coming from a more comprehensive point of view.
Yeah, and the things that I do to try and talk to people about things that are happening when I'm trying to find out about like the economy. I've been to probably over 80 of our manufacturers and businesses in the district just to go around, see what they do, sit down. What can we do to help? Is there anything that you see that we need to look at to change? Here's my phone number. Call us if we can help you on anything. And people appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We go back and
I think people look for you to be that person who's looking over the horizon, who's giving a sense of what's yet to come. I mean, we have in the coming year, even though it's an election year, there's a lot of things that are going to be, decisions that are going to be made that are going to play out over the subsequent years.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that, and I want to ask you about one more thing before you
answer. In Muskegon, there's a lot of great things that are happening in the entire district. I don't want to just single out Muskegon, but there are a lot of movements going on. There's a lot of collaboration going on. I think it's really exciting. We have people stepping up to be, you remember 15 years ago, downtown Grand Rapids, what happened when people stepped up and started putting money in and started doing things.
Right.
That's happening in Muskegon right now. We've got a group that is working together to try and help some of the newcomers come in, work on the downtown, work on the entire area. I think that we're moving forward very fast. As the manufacturers I talked to, they said they're full. They've hired back all the people that they laid back, plus they've hired more. They're adding on. They're going to the groundbreaking, ADAC.
Right.
They just opened their new paint room. And when they opened their paint room, they announced the next expansion.
That's big.
Fleet Engineers just expanded. It's just amazing. We've got all these things happening.
Well, I for me, making West Michigan my home, this is a great opportunity for us, and I think you've been a part of this, and hopefully part of your legacy is seeing us move forward as a community together, not just those who have and those who haven't.
Right.
We, separating that. But we're gonna take a break and come back for our final segment. But I encourage you to stay with us.
Culver's Concrete Mixers, the creamiest way to eat a Reese's peanut butter cup. We put as much care into our fresh frozen custard as Reese's puts into its peanut butter cups. Not only do we use family farm fresh dairy, we also use the best vanilla and cocoa beans. Handcrafting each concrete mixer, it creates a perfect blend. Which brings us back to this, the creamiest way to eat a Reese's. Put the spoon in straight and tall, you've got a perfect concrete mixer. Welcome to Delicious.
Is your loved one's health failing? Do they need the aid and attendance of other people for their daily living activities? Were they a veteran? If so, it is possible that they are eligible for a special pension called Aid and Attendance through the Veterans Administration that will assist in paying for their health care needs. There are 4 eligibility factors to consider, and you can find out if your loved one is eligible for any of these benefits just by making a phone call to elder law attorney Anna Duggins. She can be reached at 231-722-5415, or you can email her at aud@parmenterlaw.com.
Just made it.
Hi, folks. Looks like we're going to be here at least 15 minutes.
Hello, Jimmy John's?
Someone order Jimmy John's?
Jimmy John's. Order online at jimmyjohns.com.
At Langlois Home Furnishing in Muskegon, we've been serving West Michigan for over 65 years. Langlois is a local family-owned store with national buying power. We carry the largest selection of mattresses from Serta in West Michigan. Plus, we can help with design ideas. We also have a great selection of the latest top brand appliances and HD TVs. Discover what's new for you at Langlois Home Furnishings on Henry Street in Muskegon.
Welcome back to The Decision Makers. I'm your host, Kevin Kotis, and joining me again is State Senator GeoffHansen of the 34th State Senate District. Jeff, looking back and looking ahead, let's talk about some of the things that we've been able to accomplish as a state, as well as your role in helping to move the state of Michigan forward.
I got to say that in the 3 years I've been in the Senate, I think the biggest thing that we've done is get our financial house in order. We have, I talked earlier about the $1.8 billion that we had to find somewhere, or we actually had to cut back to. But some of the things that we don't always talk about is we have over a $600 million rainy day fund. 3 years ago, there was $10 million in there. I think that's so important because if we have a problem like we had in 2007, we're not going to go falling off the cliff again. We've got something to kind of cushion it. We're looking at all 3 of the credit rating agencies have upgraded the credit of the state of Michigan.
Good.
It's really, we have the 6th best economy, a comeback in the state. Things are starting to get so much better. Our per capita income is on the rise. We're higher, we're raising higher than what the average is around us. So it's really important. Our automobile manufacturers are starting to pop again. Everything is hopefully starting to come together. There's been so much that has happened that I have to say the most important thing that we've done is the financial thing, the frugalness of doing our budgeting, and it's tough. But the thing is, we also have to understand is, I talked earlier about the dollars that are there now. One of the harder parts wasn't so much as when you didn't have the dollars, because you could tell people, we don't have the money, everybody's going to have to take a little hit on this.
Right.
Now when there are a few extra dollars, everybody wants them. So it makes it a little more difficult. And how you allocate them is going to be a big thing. One of the things that we just did, when you buy a new car, when you buy a different car. If you trade your car in, now you only have to pay the sales tax on the difference between the value of your old car and your new car. It'll be phased in over 10 years, but that's kind of a big thing. We're only one of 3 or 4 states that tax the entire value of your new car. So things that are happening, I think that as we move forward, I think this will be a time that has really moved Michigan in the right direction.
Well, and let's look at one of the things you play a role in, and that's tourism. The whole Pure Michigan program as an investment that's reaped a lot of benefits for us. It's helped put Michigan back on the map on a national scene. And talk about that a little bit. And I want to ask you also about how the governor has taken note of West Michigan in terms of your relationship with the governor and helping to bring the benefits of what we represent in West Michigan to the state as a whole.
Well, first of all, it's really important that we get the governor and administration to actually look to the west. We've had problems getting the governor looking away from the southeast corner of the state because we've got so much to offer over here. And I think that as they look at, I mean, this Pure Michigan has been just a huge plus for us. There's some really, really spectacular things happening there because this summer we had the Bassmasters bass tournament here in the fall. They were blown away by our area. The people that got eliminated were staying and fishing in there. You know, they're talking about coming back next year, the professionals, to fish or to just vacation with their family. We've got, you know, that was a big deal. We had the National Paddling Championships in Newaygo 2 out of the last 4 years for coming down the river. They've got, you know, speed trials. They got all of these things, kayaking, canoeing.
The car show?
The Hot Rod Car Show has been here twice in the last 3 years. The bike time, great things happening. I think the future looks pretty bright.
Well, and going back to that, in terms of the investment of let's talk a little bit about the dollars and cents in terms of the Pure Michigan campaign. It's not just a branding, and it's not just a promotional slogan. It's about putting Michigan up front into the public to say that we really have something special here.
Absolutely, and we're working with Bassmasters to try and get Michigan to partner with them, to advertise with them when they go all the other places, because we've got the #1 bass lake in the nation in Lake St. Clair, and people know about Pure Michigan. They see the advertisements, they come to Michigan. We've actually had out-of-state dollars coming in, surpass the in-state travelers for the first time.
That's great.
And it's an amazing thing. I think that it's been a very successful program. And the nice part is for every dollar we spend, we generate over $4 back into the Treasury the same year.
And are you seeing also better collaboration with the industries and the small businesses and hotels and small operators working together in a common purpose?
It's the nice thing about the Pure Michigan because it's not anything specific. It's about Michigan. It's about everybody. And so it's not saying, come here to see our sand dunes, come here to see our bridge, come here to see Mackinac Island, come here to see Henry Ford Museum. It's not any of those things. This is Michigan. Come to Michigan. You have all of these options. Once they get here, then we'll fight over them.
Okay, well, Senator Hansen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Kim.
And thank you for joining us on The Decision Makers. We hope to see you again.